Well, hello, welcome in and welcome back to a new video. We finished, or I finished the second month in the No New Clothes Challenge, and we're going to be having a little update today to talk about kind of how it went, what I've learned, and if there's any updates. If you're new to this challenge, I'm going to link the intro video in the cards so you can hear about how this challenge came about, the goals and the purpose, all of that. TLDR of it all is that I am breaking up with fast fashion, and this is a little challenge that I'm doing in order to kind of kick start that breakup. Before we get into the video, I just want to say happy Pride, y'all. First video I'm filming in June, and I want to wish all those who celebrate, all my LGBTQ plus people out there, happy Pride. Y'all are valued members of this channel and the internet. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you're a part of this community. And I hope that this channel is a safe space, place where you feel safe, seen, and heard. Whenever Pride comes around, there's always so much I want to say. But ultimately, thank you for being here. So let's get on with the video. So let's start off with the question. Did I stick to the challenge? Did I buy anything? And no, I didn't. I didn't buy anything secondhand or firsthand, none of that. However, last night somebody actually decluttered some clothing to me, and well, two pieces. And I'll just show them now real quick. This like little t-shirt and this top. I haven't tried it on, so I'm not sure if it will fit, but this is the only clothes that have come in. And so this brought up the question. I'm going to put this down. If I go to clothing swaps, or if somebody declutters clothes to me, are they going to count as part of my 6 pieces in? So if you missed my last video, then you would have missed where I talk about how my goal is to bring in 30 pieces of clothing for 2024. And I set a good, better, best goal. Good being 40, better being 35, best being 30. So 30 is the goal. And I didn't start 2024 with that goal in mind. I only kind of came to that conclusion like in April. And I came to that conclusion based on how the first kind of couple of months went, but also when I was doing some research about the average number of clothing people brought in, and I was doing calculations of myself, and I had this whole conversation about quantity and how that kind of relates to this challenge and fast fashion, which we can check in my previous video. So since I had purchased quite a bit already, that left 6 items that were open that I could fill if I wanted to reach the 30 goal. If I had this in mind in January, I think things would have looked very different, because when you think about 30 pieces in the context of a year, that's roughly 2 to 3 pieces per month, or 7 to 8 items per quarter, which seems like such a reasonable amount, like 7 to 8 items per season. In 2023, I brought in about 25 clothing items, which did also include some special occasion clothing. And so it was really bothersome to me. And as we move farther along from that realization that I made, it is just kind of felt increasingly right. And I've just felt a sense of, this is really what I want for myself. Glad I made those choices and made those realizations. And we'll talk more about this in just a second, but I think we'll circle back to these 2 pieces that I have and what the goal is. Is the goal to own less things, to consume less things? And in some ways, the answer is yes. Or is the goal to buy less things? And I think in this kind of case, right, where if I didn't take these clothing items, they would either, I don't actually know what the person would have done with it. My guess is that they would have taken them to like a donation center. So if I didn't take these items, that's very likely where they would go. I didn't purchase them, like I didn't purchase them from a secondhand website or from a thrift store. So my wallet has no real, like there's no financial consequence there. But there, even if you bring in free stuff, there are always ramifications in your wardrobe. Maybe these items get used less, maybe they take up space. And you can also, like, let's say that I had lots of friends decluttering clothing items to me, I could just acquire so many items, I have no idea what to do with them. That's not quite the case, and we're talking about 2 pieces here. I'm curious to hear what you think, whether you think they should qualify as 2 of the 6 pieces, or if not, if that should just be reserved for items that I purchase. I don't think I'm going to qualify them because I didn't buy them. And I think it also, like, where they would have gone and the source does kind of matter. Like, if I went to a clothing swap, I had this like shopping intention, that I think that would count. I'm waffling a little bit because this just happened and I could still choose not to accept them, but there's also an equal amount of chance that they do because I like them enough that I would in fact like to keep them if I can. One of the reasons why I'm waffling is because of what I was saying in the previous episode, is that the quantity of what I own matters, because we can overconsume and we can overbuy and we can continue this mentality of that fast fashion promotes, of the constant buy and declutter, even if something is secondhand or even if something is free. And I recognize that. Does this contribute to that mindset? I don't think so. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I also, when I was thinking about that 30 item rule, I was just wondering, am I getting hung up on a number, or does this serve a purpose? I think in this particular case, having 30 items serves its purpose because it's a goal. It helps me to think more critically about what I want to bring in, what makes sense for my life, and to prevent overconsumption. And overconsumption in the ownership and acquiring of goods, not so much overconsumption in terms of like monetary amounts. However, there would be cases in my life, maybe last year, where it wouldn't serve a purpose. And I think it's okay for some things to not be universally applicable. I also think that in some cases, like having 30 items wouldn't function if the mindset wasn't there, right? Like I could say, oh, because I'm allowed to buy 30 items, I'm going to buy 30 items. And if that was a way that I was thinking, then it wouldn't perhaps serve the purpose I would want it to. And that is something that I am kind of watching out for. Like, just because I can buy 6 more clothing items, or if it was 10 or 20, doesn't mean that I should buy them simply because I can. And when we have these kinds of rules, like I'm only going to buy 30 items, it can make us think about things in ways that may be unhelpful. Like we could stop thinking about whether we need something and focus on wanting stuff. Like if I want this, that's good enough. Or yeah, we can bypass this whole conversation of need because we can we can assume we don't have to have that conversation or just not have it because we are allowed to buy something. That makes sense. One of my personal worries would be that after a couple weeks went by, I would just go back to thinking about clothes and wanting more stuff, wanting to buy those 6 pieces right away. And I was worried about that because when you learn a piece of information or you take a stance ethically, the further you go away from that moment in time, the less impactful that mindset or that choice or that information can be. It's easier to forget about, or easier to feel disimpassioned. I don't know if that's quite the right word, right? Like I learned all this information and now it's not at the forefront of my mind anymore. So it could be easier theoretically to buy more stuff and I'm not as morally or ethically swayed like I was 5 weeks ago. And so I was worried that the feeling would fade. And I was also worried that I'm my most shoppy at the change of a season, because that's when you're thinking about the clothes in my own wardrobe, and what do I have? What do I need? And maybe feeling discontent or content, really. It could depend. And so I was worried that, okay, we're going to change seasons. I'm now going to kind of go back to what could I buy, or this desire to buy more things and not be as impacted by some of these revelations that I made in the last episode. This hasn't happened, which is really nice. And I think that there's always going to be more stuff to want, and there's always going to be needs or desires that happen, things I'm going to say, wow, I really like that, or that's pretty, or I want it. And the throes of consumerism, they can come about at any moment. They're not here yet. I think there's 2 reasons why I've been personally disinterested in clothes at the moment. Number 1, I was so busy in May, I just didn't have the time to think about clothes like I did in spring. And 1B, I was paying too much attention to my wardrobe in spring. I started paying attention out of this desire to like try new things and find new and fun ways to wear my wardrobe, but that just kind of kept me in this mental frame of looking for newer, nicer things, looking for things to want, or in my quest of finding inspo, what I really found was things to want was, I don't have this. My wardrobe doesn't look like this. Therefore, I need to fill these gaps and I need to buy these things. And so there's always that point where inspiration can turn into like a jealousy. It can turn into discontentment. That is what happened. I was paying too much attention. And this is a lesson that I am well aware of, and one that I've brought up in the past handful of years, of when you're looking for stuff to want, you'll find it. Or when you're paying too much attention to stuff, then you'll learn about more things to want. And I got stuck in that cycle with makeup. When I was paying attention to new makeup releases, I was just spending the time in the trenches, the time looking at new stuff. So therefore I was realizing more things to want. When I stopped paying attention to new makeup releases, it was out of sight, out of mind. This is an old lesson that I was reminded of. And as we've kind of distanced ourselves from the beginning of spring, it's become clear, I should say, how much that was true. So I brought out my summer wardrobe not too long ago, like probably a week ago at this point, maybe less. And so I was a little wary, this is the time where I might want those items, and it didn't happen. So my summer wardrobe tends to be the smallest out of all of my seasonal wardrobes. And I don't enjoy summer clothes as much as other clothes, which is kind of funny because I do love a good dress. But I think shopping for these items has always just kind of been a bit of a like pain. Just kind of negative ideas about shopping for this stuff. So there's that. And then number 2, which is kind of more of a positive thing, is that I tend to hold on to summer clothes longer. Like some of my oldest pieces are summer pieces. And also some of my most favorite pieces are summer pieces, which is why I'll hold on to them. And when I pulled out my clothes, I had this real sense of, these are my clothes. Like, this is me. And it's just a bit of a different feeling than something like fall, because I get really excited about fall and also spring because of the changing of the season. Fall is my personal favorite season. And so I get super excited about fall dressing, in part because you get those variation in temperatures. Like, you could wear a skirt, or you could wear a blazer. You could wear boots or flats or whatever. You have a lot of versatility happening there. So I get excited for that reason. For summer, I'm like, these are my clothes. This is me. Like, this is my wardrobe. And it kind of feels a bit like coming home. And even though I have clothes for fall and winter that are old, they don't have that same feeling. And so it's kind of interesting to pull out clothes and be like, yeah, this is my wardrobe. These are my clothes. And also to have memories in so many of my pieces is very comforting. And I think my summer wardrobe, out of all wardrobes, is comforting. And I think that is part of the reason why I don't want to like mess with it or fuss with it, is when something is homey, we tend to appreciate it, right? When we think of good connotations of home or this idea of hominess, we want to kind of keep it as is. And that's how I feel about my wardrobe. I don't really think about buying more summer clothes or adding to it, because it just is like, this is, like pull out my favorite cactus dress that I've owned, I think since 2018. Pull out that dress, and that dress is one of my favorite pieces that I own because I have so many memories in it, so many good photos in it, so many good memories. And when you own something for a long time, like my overalls, like my green striped t-shirt, these are clothes I mentioned in a recent video. When you make memories in them, you get that good feeling, and your clothes in some ways become less about the clothes, or you enjoy them more because of the memories. And so I don't want to get rid of stuff that feels good to own. And one of the reasons why it feels good is because it feels like home. And one of the reasons why it feels like home is because of the memories that I made in them. So my summer wardrobe is out, and was like, yeah, I just kind of also had this acceptance, like, these are the clothes I'm going to wear. Whereas in other seasons, I'll think about like, this is my wardrobe, but also it's like, what else? Like sometimes, yeah, what else? Or I'm already looking at stuff to buy, instead of like, this is my wardrobe. Like, this is it. I'm sure eventually something will tempt me, probably even in the next couple of weeks. Something is going to tempt me. But right now I am relishing my summer wardrobe. And it really truly feels like I have enough. And that is also what kind of contributes to it. I have like 12 t-shirts, and I think it was like, I pulled out my summer wardrobe. I have a video on it. I think I had 11 t-shirts, and they pulled out like 4 or 5 tank tops, right? So we're like 15 or 16 t-shirts. But it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. But I don't own like many other things on top of that. I have a couple of bodysuits, like long sleeve, and I have like a couple of nicer like blouses. All of those are straight up t-shirts. You wouldn't wear a t-shirt to a nice occasion. So I have a couple of kind of more nicer, dressier upper things. So I wasn't worried about dressier things. And it just felt like enough. Maybe even a little too much in terms of like the t-shirt tank top route, but it just felt like enough. And when it feels like enough, then there is some contentment that comes along with that. One of the things that can trip me up personally when it comes to fall and spring is this idea of not enough, because the weather is so varied. I can justify having t-shirts and long sleeve tops and sweaters and sweatshirts and all different kinds of stuff for all different kinds of weather. So even if I own 40 things in that wardrobe, I'm like, yeah, it's totally fine, because I can own a wide variety. I can own more quantity because of the temperature. Whereas that's not the case in the summer. So I'm feeling I'm feeling good about my wardrobe. And there's like nothing kind of, oh, potentially I want this, potentially I want that. There's nothing kind of going on in my mind, which is really fun, or really nice, I should say. One thing that I did mention in the intro to this challenge was potentially getting a bathing suit. And I did look up a bathing suit, and I actually found a sustainable Canadian swimwear brand. And I found a two-piece that I loved, and I kind of freaked out. It was a green and white striped bathing suit. So I'm like, all right, we're going to sit on it for a week, and then we'll come back and we'll reevaluate. I then kind of, in the usual Shonda fashion, I was like, wait a second, why do I want this bathing suit? Like, what is the impetus behind this purchase? And I was thinking about it, and I ultimately decided that I'm not going to be getting a bathing suit this season, which kind of surprised me, given that I've been actively talking about buying a bathing suit for 2 full years. So it kind of surprised me that I went, yeah, I don't need one. because I was thinking about why I wanted a new bathing suit. And the reason why I wanted a new bathing suit, when I was able to be honest with myself and get down to it, is quite simply that I'm bored with my current bathing suit. I'm just a little sick of it because I have one bathing suit and I've had it since 2017 or 18. The oldest picture I could find in it was 2018, but 2017 is a year I don't have a lot of photos, so I don't actually know if I bought it, like which year. So it's at least 6 years old. And I am a firm believer that something being old doesn't inherently mean that it is of poor quality, that it is unwearable. Age alone is not the deterrent factor for that. I was just bored. It fits fine. And when I look at it, the color's nice. And when I wear it, I was thinking about last year when I wear it, I don't really think about, oh, I'm uncomfortable in this. I don't like this. The top, to be fair, is a little loose. Doesn't fit me the best. I can say that. However, bathing suits are really hard to declutter because a lot of people don't want to wear somebody's used bathing suit. So could I give it to a consignment store? Maybe. I don't know how I would feel about that. But if they didn't accept it, it's a real toss if it's going to go to the thrift store. So let's say that the consignment store doesn't take it, argument's sake. It wouldn't bring it to the thrift store. So then what happens to it? Is there a service that will take my swimsuit and use the fabric for other things? Which means that if I declutter it now, it's very likely going to be end of life. This bathing suit is in great, phenomenal condition. It does not need to be end of life. I am making some assumptions here, and if I was really interested in decluttering it, I would do more due diligence than this. But I do strongly believe that this would be end of life, and I'm not ready for it to be end of life, and I'm enjoying it enough. It does not need to be end of life, so we're going to keep it. I also wear it maximum 5 times a year. And I think one of the reasons why I got it in my head to buy a new one is because I have a one piece that I absolutely detest, and I was going to get rid of that. It never fit right, and I should never have bought it. And I wore it for a couple of years because I was super uncomfortable in my own body, and I am a firm believer of just wear the swimsuit. If you want to spend time at the beach, you want to go in the water, I don't want body insecurity to stop me from having fun. So I put on what was most comfortable in those situations, and I did the thing, and I had the fun, and I'm so glad that I owned that. But I should never have bought that version of a swimsuit because it never fit to begin with. And so I was like, all right, maybe I can buy a different one piece. And then my mind went, if I'm going to buy a swimsuit, it should be a 2-piece that I get the most wear out of. And I don't really wear one pieces anymore because I'm feeling fine. And if there was an occasion to if I was insecure on how I was feeling, then that would make sense to buy one piece for whatever situation that was in. So this desire to buy a one piece led me to firmly believing that I should replace a 2-piece. That's also perfectly fine. That's kind of the update. I don't think I'm going to make an update in for June, maybe in 2 months. Because I don't know that this particular update was all that exciting. I love talking about this stuff, and if you do, then let me know, and I can still bring updates, even if there's not big moments like there was last update. I know stuff I realized or kind of came to reflect on in the last video. They're not end all be all change your life kind of stuff, but in terms of this challenge, they were really eye-opening and really shaped my perspective on how I actually want to live my life in this way moving forward. Stuff in this episode, not as dramatic. So let me know if you would still like to have a monthly update for the next couple of months, or maybe every 6 weeks or every other month. I would love to hear that. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out, and I hope to see you again around here soon. Bye.